Let's get the latest from the former Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Ben Habib now. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ben. Are you delighting in this controversy that's currently surrounding the Reform Party?
No, not at all. I think it's tragic what's happening to Reform. Remember, it was people like me that helped put Reform on the map. It's people like me and Rupert who fear that the country is facing existential threats at multiple levels, which is why we're in politics. We're desperate that Reform should deliver for the country, that Reform can restore the United Kingdom to its former glory, to put up our borders, become a sovereign, independent, prosperous country again. We're absolutely desperate for it. So this is hugely tragic. And you might remember, Bev, I was on Dukes with you. You were hosting because Michelle wasn't on. And I was talking about the importance, just a couple of weeks ago, the importance of getting the structure of Reform UK right. And I've been banging on about that because I want the party to succeed, because I don't believe that even if they gain power, they'll be able to deliver what's required to save the United Kingdom unless the party has the proper structure to be able to take in and hold the greatest minds on our side of the movement so that policies can be established, articulated to the British public, and then delivered, enacted. And Reform's got to go, as Andrew wrote in his article, or when he quoted Rupert. Reform's got to go from being an insurgent party. I think Rupert called it a protest party. It's got to go from being on the sidelines to being in the centre of policy making. It's got to be at the centre of government, hopefully. You can't do that on the back of one man. And fundamentally, this dispute, I think, boils down to exactly the same thing about which I've been complaining, that the party isn't properly structured and there's no mechanism by which someone like Rupert can even make complaints heard by the leadership. If the party is controlled and dominated by one man, all you can do is plead to him. There's no mechanism by which you can be genuinely heard. And this would never have happened if Reform had been properly democratized and the right checks and balances put in place. Rupert would have been heard and the issue would have been resolved.
But Ben, if you say that the ideology of the party is so important to you, why are you being such a public thorn in the side of Nigel Farage and Reform? Because this does not help them. And without the Reform Party, without Nigel Farage, what is the Reform Party? He is that talismanic figure that nobody can currently replace.
I wholly disagree with you. I wholly disagree with the notion that individuals are indispensable. And I disagree also with the notion that Nigel has put about, that this party owes its 5 MPs to him. On the eve of the general election being called, Reform UK was polling 16%. And let me just remind viewers, Nigel had been nowhere to be seen on the political battlefield for 4 years on the 23rd of May 2024. He left politics after we supposedly left the EU in 2020. We were polling 16% without any support from Nigel Farage, and we got 14% of the vote in the general election, bang in line with our polling. Can I just finish, Bev? We got 5 MPs, and having got 5 MPs, which, by the way, from a political historical perspective, was transformational and seismic, the polling of the party would have automatically gone on going up. Reform was designed. Reform was in a pivotal position, and it was bound to do well, and it was bound to continue to do well. That's why it went from being. That's why it became so important that the structure of the party be got right.
They have addressed that. Would they have addressed that in terms of the structure of the party?
They haven't. They've told you they've addressed it, but it's in control of Nigel. They've misled the public. And I'm happy to have a debate with Nigel and or Zia Yusuf on the subject. The party is still controlled by Nigel. He is in an unassailable position. It's absolute misrepresentation of the fact when they say that they've democratized the party.
And Ben, can I just jump in here? And what you're referring to is that the company used to be owned by Nigel Farage, who was the major shareholder. That was all swept away, but a new company has been set up at Companies House called Reform 2025 with two directors, Nigel Farage and Zia Youssef. So people like you and Rupert Lowe are saying, how is that democratising? But can I just read you a text you sent to Rupert Lowe at the end of February, which seems incredibly prescient? The drumbeat of a rift between you and Reform is getting louder. Don't let them throw you out and control the narrative. They'll find some cock and bull story to justify their decision, and any defence you offer will be dismissed as being wrong, bitter and twisted. Does what happened the day after that article appeared, Ben, confirm your fear that they were determined to kick Rupert Lowe out of the party, come what may?
Absolutely. I'm so glad I wrote that text to Rupert, because I could see the direction of travel. It was a direction of travel that I've seen unfold for many, many good people in the grassroots of reform who don't get a mention because no one knows them. But Zia Youssef has systematically been going across the country, displacing people, and in the process rubbishing their reputations. And
now, he's not here to defend himself on that, Ben, just to say he's not here to defend himself on that.
But I could see the same thing happening to Rupert. And so I woke up on that Friday morning and I texted Rupert and I said, Rupert, just be aware that I think this is where it's going. They're going to rubbish your character. They're going to sack you, rubbish your character, and then any defence you put up will be portrayed as bitter and twisted and irrelevant. And so get ahead of the game and resign. And exactly what I predicted happened. They have attempted actually not just to rubbish Rupert. Let's just get this into perspective. They haven't just attempted to rubbish Rupert. They've attempted to destroy him. When you make an application to the police, when you make a complaint to the police about physical threats of violence, you're actually putting this into a domain where Rupert could be, however frivolous the claim, and it's an entirely frivolous claim, otherwise it would have been made back in December, however frivolous the claim, you are putting a man's personal liberty in danger. They have tried to destroy Rupert, and that for me is abominable. That is abominable.
Rupert Lowe is a popular MP. He's very popular with his constituents, not least because he gives his monthly salary to local charities. He is excellent on social media. He puts a lot of tweets out which resonate and they land about farming, about immigration. Is it just... How is it possible that Nigel Farage would want to get rid of such an MP when he is popular? It makes no sense. Nigel might be many things, but he's smart as a politician. He wouldn't want to get rid of a man like that unless he felt there was a legitimate reason to suspend the whip. We don't know what the allegations of bullying are. Have you seen the allegations of bullying, Ben?
Well, but as you said, there are no allegations of bullying against Rupert. These are allegations made against other people, but apparently the bullying took place in Rupert's office. Rupert is not being accused of bullying.
No,
and again, the statement put out by Reform was so vague that anyone reading it without inquiring would think Rupert is the bully. He's not the bully. He's not even in the crosshairs of blame here. And yet it opens with an allegation of bullying against two women. And then it goes on to make this ridiculous complaint that he threatened Zia Youssef with physical violence. Absolute absurdity. But let me just answer your first question, Bev. At the heart of all of this, at the heart of Nigel's refusal to restructure the party, democratise it, at the heart of his refusal to bring on good people is his narcissistic nature. And I'm sorry that I have to make it personal, but if people are to understand what the problem is, it's to do with Nigel's narcissism. For all his ability to campaign, bang the drum, and deliver results in the polls, actually he can't bear anyone to be as popular or more popular than him. And just one more thing. When Elon Musk endorsed Rupert Lowe, that put a target on Rupert Lowe's back. That was the beginning of the end of Rupert being in the party.
Ben, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Obviously, Nigel isn't here to defend himself. He would say that he isn't a narcissist.
Of course
We're going to carry on this conversation in just a minute.